Hey guys, welcome back. So now we finally reached the point to where Doom Supreme, aka the Doom above all, is finally showing his hand. And it's with this one where we're going to get into his true motive as far as the reason why he formed the Masters of Evil, as well as the twisted story of how he became the Doom above all, which was teased during Avengers Death Hunters, but this time around, we're getting the full rundown. But before we get into it, first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so with how this begins, we start off with the Doom above all, who at this point is in an undisclosed location, and when we find him here removing his mask, he's speaking to someone off panel who we'll see in a little bit. But while he has this guest here, he gives a series of specific instructions, of which he's given to countless other guests the exact same way, time and time again, with him telling them to look him in the face for the full duration without looking away, unless they want their eyes removed. He tells them not to beg for the mercy of murder, and he lets them know that they don't have the permission to go mad, at least not until he gives the order. But before we see how this specific one-on-one plays out, we take a step back to a time not too long before this moment, when the Masters of Evil made their way to Earth 91, which in this universe is the planet of the Man-Things. But it's here where the Masters of Evil had made their way to kill this world's Avengers 1 million BC, and it's kind of funny how when they get there, the Man-Things say that the Masters of Evil are the weird looking ones, which I mean makes sense because most people in this universe look like the Man-Thing. But I mean, as soon as we hop in here, the Masters of Evil, they make quick work of these guys, every last one of them. Because back when the Masters of Evil were making their rounds across the multiverse, this attack is just one of the many slaughters that they had served to countless teams of prehistoric Avengers, who time after time just couldn't withstand the amount of power that these guys were sending their way. And arguably one of the biggest advantages that they have on their side is the element of surprise. But also with us seeing the multiversal Masters of Evil quickly conquer Earth 91, this time with us looking back, we get to see one of the main issues that they come across, which as the Doom above all would describe, is the bickering. Because anytime they conquer a new Earth, the rest of his team is just arguing back and forth about who gets this one. But with the majority of the team arguing and bickering time and time again about who would get what Earth, it was also here on Earth 91 when some of the guys got a bit curious about the Doom above all, since he didn't really care to make his claim on any of the worlds. And it even came to the point to where the Ghost Goblin believed that the Doom above all was playing some sort of game, or he just thought that he was better than all of them. But really, this behavior goes right along with what we've seen from the Doom above all so far, with him showing no interest in trying to personally reset any world's timeline. And really, for the most part, this whole time, the reason why has been a mystery, at least up until now. Because it's here where we then go back to that undisclosed location, and it's here where we find who the Doom above all has been talking to. And as it turns out, he's talking to the Doom, or better yet, Doom thing, of Earth 91, who he had pulled out of that world's modern timeline, just before going back to that world's 1 million BC with the Masters of Evil and resetting their timeline. But it's here where we get to learn a lot about the Doom above all, as he takes the Doom thing from Earth 91 and makes him undergo a process, if you will, that the Doom above all would describe as revealing himself to his subject one scar at a time, so that they would know who he is to the fullest and choose to serve him, or otherwise go mad and just beg for death. And it really depends on the individual as far as which one they'll choose, because the results between the two vary, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But through the course of this, with the Doom above all giving the Doom thing the instruction that if he looks away, then he'll have his eyes removed. Well, he looked away, so the Doom above all calls for his guards, and as they walk in, the Doom above all goes on to mention how a number of their variants across the multiverse have also hidden their faces for numerous reasons, whether their appearance was grotesque, or even if it was something as vain as a nick from a razor. But he goes on to tell him that there's an infinite range of reasoning for why their variants wear masks from across the multiverse. But then finally, when he asks the Doom thing what he's hiding behind his mask, the Doom thing then responds that it's fire. Because for whatever knows insolence burns at the touch of the Doom thing. And when the Doom thing says this, he breaks out of his restraints and he goes for the guards, telling the Doom above all that he doesn't deserve such a name for hiding behind Doombots, because just about every version of Doom has Doombots, and for that reason he believes that the Doom above all has to be average at best. But when the Doom thing grabs one of these guys and they melt in his hands, it's here where he realizes that all these other Dooms are variants, And each and every one of them were put on this same cross, or one very similar, because there were instances where he had to accommodate for height, but all these variants of Doom were given the same instructions for them to see the Doom above all in the fullness and truth of who he is. But from here, all the variants are ordered to nail the Doom thing's head to the cross, as well as remove his eyelids, so that the Doom above all can continue. And it's from here where he goes on to show the Doom thing, how he's executed this same process on countless other worlds. But again, for the Doom above all, resetting the timelines on these worlds mean nothing to him, because he sees these other Earths as nothing more than an incubator for another Doom. But now with the Doom thing seeing more about the Doom above all, it's here where he takes it a step further, and he shows the Doom thing why exactly he's collecting all of these variants. But in order to explain this properly, Doom Supreme goes back to the beginning, and he tells Doom thing about Valeria, his one true love who he had sacrificed when he stripped the living flesh from her bones and forged it into an armor that was fueled by the power of that sacrifice. And this is something where Jason Aaron had taken inspiration from Mark Waid's 2003 issue of Fantastic Four, Volume 3, Issue 67, when at the time, the Doom of Earth 616 believed that when he was young, he made a fatal choice in choosing science over sorcery, but he found the opportunity to choose again when he made a pact with a cabal of nether demons who claimed that they could make him the sorcerer that he could have been, and greater. But in order to do so, he had to give up something of indescribable value, something irreplaceable, and like we'd seen at the time, he had given up the love of his life, Valeria. And with the way that this is done with Jason Aaron this time, the Doom above all picks up from this moment to where from here he goes on to become Sorcerer Supreme and conquer his universe, while also torturing those who did him wrong, and of course quote unquote those who did him wrong, for the most part being Reed Richards, who really in Reed's case, depending on the day, I kinda see him as the villain too. But for Doom Supreme, he spent years torturing Reed, amongst others. And even with this being his most satisfying moment, after years, he admits that it got boring. But then he realized that it wasn't enough to just make his enemies suffer. And that's when he decided that he needed to take it a step further by killing the prehistoric Avengers of his world so that his enemies would never exist. But for Doom Supreme, after years of mystical labor, he had exhausted the enchantments of his armor, and for him to continue, he would need to renew that power with another sacrifice. But at this point, he had nothing left to offer. There was no one else in existence who he loved, except for himself. And because Doom loved himself so much, killing his own variants worked as a suitable sacrifice. And really with him figuring out that this was doable with the first one, it caused him to have both a deeper love and hatred for himself, to where in the beginning he was doing this with tears in his eyes, like super emotional, but also with him knowing that there's a multiverse of Dooms that he can sacrifice one after the other. This had all eventually came together when he joined up with Mephisto, who gave Doom Supreme the idea of putting together the Masters of Evil and going on their multiversal slaughter, which for Doom Supreme was an easy yes, because for him, this speeds up the whole process. But from here, with the Doom above all revealing so much of himself to the Man-Thing, this caused the Man-Thing to beg him to stop because he couldn't bear to see anymore. And now with the Man-Thing swearing his allegiance to the Doom above all, he orders for the Doom thing to be let down from the cross, to where then he tells him to cut out his own tongue. And now, as an obedient follower, he does exactly that. But as Doom Supreme leaves the room, it's here where we kind of get a look at the few Dooms who joined him versus the many others who just begged for death. But for the Doom above all, he sees all of this as necessary for what's to come, with this being the salvation of all Dooms. But then after this, we take a step further, as this undisclosed location gets disclosed, and we come to find out that the Doom above all's base of operations is on Doom, the living planet. And I'm pretty sure it's the one from Earth 14412 and not the one from temporary reality number 157, cause him dead. But yeah, this Doom was also visited by the Doom above all. He looked upon his face, and I mean, I doubt he had to get up on a cross and all that. But Doom the living planet also agrees that Doom Supreme is the only Doom that can break other Dooms. And he too has said, all hail the Doom above all, the Doom of Dooms. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below or you can go to patreon.com/Dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.